Hello, good people,
Hi everyone.
and welcome to the traditional 13th Mix Analog Q&A webinar.
Yeah,
We're going live.
from our HQ in Ljubljana, Slovenia.
Let me just check if that's working. Yeah, we're on it.
Got a chock full of gear back, so it's a nice place to be at. And today we have an interesting agenda, a few things to announce. The first of which would be
The new booking experience
Yeah.
interface or what have you.
So, in the past, some time ago, we received quite a lot of complaints about the booking process being a bit weird in terms of you click something and then, you're looking at the screen and you're not quite sure what to click next. So we thought about it and did a bit of design iteration, so on, talked to a few of you people and came up with a new experience that's a very easy to use wizard. And Žiga will later show you how that works. It's been just released, I believe, in the wild. We're gonna check that right now to see if it's live. And it's not yet, but it will be in a minute or so, I hope. Hello, Donnie.
Always the last minute.
Oh yeah. We're always pushing what can be done at the last minute, so as to impress you guys the most. Other than that, there's a few news on the hardware front.
Yeah. Lots of, let's say, expected news, a little bit of unexpected news, some interesting stuff. So yeah, quite a lot to talk about.
Yep.
And do we have anything else prepared?
Oh, so we're gonna talk about the new booking UI. We're gonna talk about the hardware stuff, and I believe we can also talk about a bit of some magazines finally picking up.
I think we make the remark somewhere that we can also say a thing or two about the staging environment and everything.
Oh yes, we can do that. So it's a bit of a, you won't really see the improvement right away, but we've done a few tweaks on how we develop Mix Analog as a software and on which hardware it's running. So some of these changes are now going to roll out, and we've found some very interesting problems along the way that we didn't know we had, and now that we're solving them, we're super happy because there's been a reserve of let's say power or speed, throughput, network latency, whatever that we didn't know we had problems with, but then eventually found out that there's a hardware or software thing that's keeping us back, and as we remove those things, the Mix Analog is gonna be even faster and snappier. So we're super happy to get there and remove all of these obstacles.
Okay, so I'll just check another time. Sorry for constant interruptions. By the way,
It's working.
There it is. Okay, cool. So while we're here, I see there's 5 of you right here at the moment. So if anyone has any questions about Mix Analog, please interrupt us. We'll be looking in that direction periodically to check if someone has a question or something is not clear that we just said or something. And that's actually the point of having those live webinars. It's all cool and dandy to watch us talk and everything, but the main reason we are doing this is to let you guys and girls, maybe, hopefully, ask questions about Mix Analog that we somehow missed in previous webinars, in tutorial videos, in support chat, whatever. So we can talk about the things that are not clear.
You can ask questions. You can give us suggestions. You could ask about the future. What do you think we're gonna do next? Some guidelines from you on what you'd like to see next on our roadmap. It's all very welcome. So any feedback whatsoever, just type it in the chat. We'll take a look at that and come back to you live.
Yeah, and
all right.
We got the first comment from Donnie, and I think you might find quite a few really nice toys on Mix Analog that are kind of right up your alley.
Yeah, it's been it's a collection that's been lovingly, selected, crafted, so that you can get it's meant for stuff like coloring and mastering, but it's a nice garden of toys, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, we're trying to release stuff in an order that is.
It kind of makes sense, I think.
Yeah, we try to release complementary items one after the other, so we're kind of approaching a complete tool set as fast as possible. So it would not make sense to just put up, I don't know, 6 different compressors. It might be fun, but you need a limiter, you need a cool EQ. A tape machine is very cool.
Oh, yeah.
So, we're doing our best to approach this complete tool set so everyone can have something that can make his tracks better at any moment.
Sure. So Don is asking about the tape machine itself and the process involved with having his mix printed to the tape machine. So Donnie, I think the easiest way to go about it is to take a look at the video tutorial for the tape machine. Žiga made an awesome video tutorial that's on the same channel as you are right now on YouTube. But other than that, as a summary, there's a tape machine with about 1,000 meters of tape. It's a Telefunken M15, a nice vintage tape machine from the 70s, I believe.
Even the end of 60s, I guess.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
It's really old.
It's a discrete, chock full of transformers. Nice heads, because it was a hot spare machine, so didn't see much use back in the day. So what happens is your mix gets output by the Burl DA converters, goes into the record heads of the Telefunken M15.
Actually it goes first to the analog volume controller.
Oh, that's true. That's
so
true. First it goes to the analog volume controller,
Yeah.
so you can adjust the gain up or down in the analog domain. So after you've done some of your digital gain staging before the DA, then you can do some more gain staging in the analog domain, and then that hits the tape machine's record heads, after which they are picked up at the same time with through the
playhead.
the playheads.
No, it's vice versa. The read head.
Read head?
The replay. I think it's called replay.
Yeah, it's a replay head. You're right. And then from the replay head, it goes back into the burls, and that's what you hear. So we run the burls at 192 kilohertz and sampling rate, and that's pretty much it. So if you have a more specific question, just ask regarding like usage-wise and what each knob does on the platform. That you can take a look at the video tutorial. But if you have a more specific question, just shoot.
Okay, and I think we could start with the daily program.
Let's start with the demo of the new booking process.
So, lo and behold, I hope that's gonna work now. Yes.
It does work. We just want to move our somewhere, but maybe the left bottom is actually okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see it here. Okay. Sure. I think it's gonna be okay for now. I'll move it if need be. All so, right. Welcome to the new booking experience or booking UI for Mix Analog.
All right. So I'll just jump in just a bit. So it's split into 2 halves, the upper and the lower half. The lower half shows the sessions that you did in the past. This is going to be empty if you didn't do any sessions before, and you can just click through the pages to get to the old sessions. And if you want to continue a particular session, you just click duplicate, and that will take you to the session creation. Let's not do that right now. But and if you're looking for something like a specific name of a session, you can type that up in the filter.
We have that too. Cool.
Yeah, we do.
Nice.
So anyway, but the most important change that's come to this view is the big green button in the upper half, which starts the creation of a new session.
It screams, "Click me."
Yes, click it. All right. So it's 3 steps: files, gear, and time. And I think I'll just let Žiga do some talking.
Okay.
I didn't steal all the spotlight.
All right. So while most of that functionality was on the same page on the previous version, and some of you, judging from the support on the live chat that we did, especially first-time users were sometimes a bit confused about how to go about, booking a session. How do I get to that gear that I saw somewhere and I want to use it right now? How can I get to that? So we tried to make that a bit more streamlined, so it's less info per time division and per square inch of the page.
So basically, this allows us to customize each of the steps a bit more. The point of this is that when you are selecting something like files or gear or time, each of the steps can be quite complex. Like in the future, you might not want to just select rack 1, but maybe you want to customize what sort of compressor goes in and so on. We needed to make space for this sort of decisions in the future. So making it a bit more like laid out, that you have sections that you go through in a wizard, is just has more sense for the future. But already it's easier to navigate, I think.
And Charaka Rajaguru joined us. Welcome back, friend. We haven't seen you for quite some time now.
Hi.
So if you're asking about working with mixed analog, I think the best sample rate would be 192K, because then you avoid all sample rate conversions.
Yep.
Which are, by the way, well taken care of. So it's not a serious problem. We really took our time to sift through different filters and different settings and all that. So the sample rate conversion is really good. But still, if you want to avoid that, work at 192K. But if you're asking for home studio use or just your own projects, I would recommend 96K or 88.2 if you're going to downsample to 44.1K. Because actually we're going to share a link about those recommendations maybe today or tomorrow. That was issued by the Grammy Academy. And there's a lot of really, really good info there, because the guys that run that place really know what they're doing.
And it also says what you need to do to qualify for a Grammy.
Yeah.
So, not only what sample rate do you need, but also what you need to do. So... Yeah.
But
keep your eyes peeled on that.
Yeah, to not go too far from the point. I would recommend, so that's ×2 sample rates. So 88 or 96K, 24-bit is, I think that's the most widely used now in Pro Audio.
I mostly see 96K these days, yeah.
Okay, and to continue with the booking experience, if you haven't uploaded the files that you want to process by now, you can select them. And what's new here is that you can directly upload into Mixanalog from Google Drive, from Dropbox, or from external link. By the way, WeTransfer links do not work with that as of yet.
Yeah, unfortunately not yet.
So that's kind of a pity, because I know that lots of people use WeTransfer now for file transfers.
I'd love to use that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it comes, they'll need to open up a bit in the future, but hopefully we can integrate that at some point. You can also upload more than one file at the same time. So if you just pick a bunch of files or a folder, then you can just, swipe those.
You cannot. If you can see my window, I don't know if the stream is going to show my open Finder windows or not.
It does, no.
But you can select more than one file. I'm just gonna select one. But if you select more than one file, more of them are gonna show up here. And once you click upload, it's gonna upload one after the other, or more at the same time, or what have you.
Yeah. Exactly.
So batch uploads are now possible and working.
Yeah.
But if you have lots of files already uploaded, because you maybe just want to continue your session or something like that, just continue. By the way, that's kind of an answer to Donnie's next question. So if I wanted to send my mix to the Fairchild first and then to the tape machine, can I do those two things at the same time, or do I need to need to do 2 separate sessions for each. At the moment, you have to do 2 sessions
Yes.
separately.
But each bounce that you do actually doesn't only go to your computer, but also goes back into the files collection or media library,
Yep.
we call it, in Mixanalog. So each bounce that you do can be a source for some other session. And in that case, you wouldn't need to upload anything because the file's already there on our servers.
Yeah,
So-
I think I can just show it
Yeah,
here. I
sure.
have lots of junk on there, so lots of test files and all that. But when you upload your files, everything until you delete it, it stays in the files tab, and all your bounces will also go into here, so you don't need to download and re-upload files again.
Exactly.
And to go back to session creation, if you already have your files, here's skip uploading button, so you don't have to upload your files anew. And
And
then you have to select what nice box you're going to use for your processing,
or many boxes in some
or
cases.
many boxes in Rec 1, for instance. So yeah, when you know what you're going to do, if you don't, there's some basic useful info spelled out for each product.
Yeah. So for each product, you see a picture of what it's going to look like or what it includes, some text that can help you decide on what you need. And also there's a link on each of those that will take you. You can click that. It opens in a new tab, or at least it should. Yeah. So with more information, more pictures, and especially the most important thing at the end is the video tutorial. So thanks very much to Žiga for taking care of both the pictures and the videos and the content. I mean, really, thank you so much. I'm sure lots of you guys will appreciate all the hard work that Žiga put into this. So the point here is obviously to make the selection of the gear as easy as possible. Just click one and then you read through the text if you like to see what's happening. Maybe take a look at the tutorial, and this is still not taking any session time, of course, because you're still deciding. So you can do that in the comfort
At
of
your
your own
own
time.
pace.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, when you decided what you want to use, let's say I want to use a telephone and tape machine because
Sounds
it's been
like a good idea.
freshly calibrated. Click select, and then you get to the booking page.
Yeah.
So first, I would suggest you name your sessions, because especially if you are going to work with multiple tracks, let's say you are doing some stem processing for a whole album, I would strongly suggest you name your sessions so you can easily find your songs if you want to tweak something and come back and adjust stuff. It's much easier to just continue a session where you left the last time, and it's much easier to find it that way if you name your sessions. I'm just gonna type tele test for now.
Sure.
Select your duration. Take 15 minutes, that's today. And when I want to start my session, the next free slot is at 3:30 at our local time.
Yeah.
And by the way, are those displayed in local time wherever
Always.
you're at? Okay.
Yes, always. So it's a GMT plus 02, which is Central European time, which is what we have right now. So you should always see your local time. It's a lot of effort went into this to make it obey your browser. If there is a timing discrepancy, just let us know, but it should be like really solid now. You can also click on any of the times if you want to just change that. And that should be it, actually.
It does not work.
It does not work? It should work. I think if you say okay, I think it's going to take the one that you clicked. But that's my bad.
Okay, so we're gonna take a look into that.
Sure.
What tape type are you using for the card? Okay, so at the moment we are using the LPR 35 type tape. I think the Telefunken is getting a new reel pretty soon.
Could be, yeah.
And let me just check it because we have it here. Goodies. So, yeah, it's I don't know if you can see it, but it's recording the masters LPR 35 type tape. And you can hit it as hard as it lets you before clipping the converters, because the converters are calibrated to plus 18 dBu. The tape has been calibrated to plus 6 dBu for 0 VU. So that would, in theory, give you around 10 to 12 dB of headroom to make it scream.
So, yeah, that's pretty much how hard you can hit it to get, a lot of saturation. But but of course, let your ears be the judge. So
yeah, it's not a distortion machine. It's not set up in a way that you could drive it really hot. But you can definitely hear it, especially if you put it through a compressor before hitting tape, so you get a little bit more RMS without the peaks going too far. You can really start to hear the tape saturate, but it's not gonna distort wildly. So yeah, that's about the tape levels.
Right. Charaka is suggesting that we have some metering options. For example, a loudness meter.
Yeah.
We've been talking about loofs as a metering option for some time now. It's still on the roadmap. It hasn't gone anywhere. But it's not something that we'll do like immediately right now in the next 2 weeks or so. So stay tuned for that. We don't have a time when it will be done, but it's definitely on the menu, and it's probably not something that's too far in the future.
I hope. And about the sweet spot of the tape, from my experience, it's if you peak around -6 with a little bit of bus compression, that would give you a nice clean tape sound and enough room to go around, to push it a little bit more or back off just a little bit. It depends on the track and the bus compression applied. But I'd say peaks at -3 to -6, and some ordinary healthy RMS for a stereo mix, and that would get you in a pretty decent zone.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Okay, so to conclude that booking experience, there's another little button down there that enables an email notification about your upcoming sessions. So if you're reserving sessions as you go, that is probably not something that you actually need, because you're going to stay behind your computer until your session starts. But if you're reserving your session for, I don't know, tomorrow in the afternoon, because you have a mixing session planned in your studio, then that might be a cool reminder, so you do not miss your booked session.
I use it all the time because I forget. So when I get an email, I know it sends an email out 5 minutes before the session starts, and it sends an email also immediately when you make a booking. And in the one that makes a booking, there's a calendar file attached, so you can just double click that and it goes into your calendar. So there's a lot of options for you not to forget, and mostly that's because I tend to forget things. So I've done a few features for that to make my life easier.
So when all that is done, so you know what file you're going to process, you know what gear are you going to use, and you know when you want to use it, you reserve it, and a nice fancy looking card will appear on your homepage.
Exactly. So we've reduced the number of tabs in the app. It used to have a home, a sessions, a files, and a profile tab. Now the home tab is gone because there's only a sessions tab in its place. Those two have been merged. And here you can see at a glance what's coming up. It's very easy to create a session because there's a big nice button to do that. And the information about the upcoming session tells you in what time. So in about 4 minutes it will start. It tells you exactly when it's going to start, where it's going to end, what kind of product you're using, and there's a nice picture. Just, you know, so at a glance, you know that you're going to be dealing with the tape. So if there are any things that you can do with the session, for example, you could cancel it if you've changed your mind. Sure. Then and then you can just do that from here, and a nice change from before is that we actually now ask you for confirmation if you're really sure. So if you click that button accidentally, or you know you wanted to click something else but your mouse slipped, well, at least there's a confirmation now so that you don't screw up by mistake.
And another small detail: deleting a session only deletes your reservation, not your files.
Yeah,
all your uploads stay here in the Files tab.
Also, we have a policy about cancellation. You can read that up on the page, but basically it boils down to if you've made a session and then within a minute or so you cancel it, then you know you've probably made an error or something, so we refund all of the tokens back to you. If you do so, if you cancel it, I think more than 2 hours before it starts, then you get a full refund as well, and if not, then you get a half back, unless it's already started, in which case, well, I mean, I think if you use up more than half of it, then you don't get anything. But if you haven't used more than half of it, then you do get a half back. So
yeah, lots of ways to get at least a portion of your tokens back if you've made a mistake or figured out that that's not something that you want.
And if something confuses you about this, either the booking process or canceling a session or continuing a session or something like that, drop us a notification back in the chat. Actually, there's no chat on your page.
Yeah, I have shitloads of ad blockers and content blockers and all that.
Okay, let me check that. Actually, I'd wanna see if we messed up and it's gone. It's not gone. Okay,
no.
It's just your ad blocker.
Yeah,
being overly zealous.
Yeah.
Charaka is asking about how many members there are now in Mixanlog. There's it depends on how you count it. There are 8,800 members who have signed up. There's 9,700 people interested in Mixanlog. So that's people who made. That's people who made an account or joined a mailing list or something like that. Because we've run a few. I don't know. Maybe you've seen it. We've got a Mixanlog blog where you can also subscribe to that, and so all of those combined would be about 9,700 people. Of those, I believe it depends on the month, but it's between 600 and 1,000 people that use it in a given month. And that's about it.
That's your stats.
Quite a few more of that. That's we're trying to get a bit more of a feeling, but into the, who is using Mixanlog and what for. So it helps if you guys, think you have a few friends that could benefit from Mixanlog. There's no need to hoard it for yourself. We'd very much appreciate it if you let them know as well. As you can see, Mixanlog is there's a lot of free time on the machines, so no worries about not being able to make your session so far. It's been really, easy going and quiet. So if you want a session tomorrow at 4 o'clock, there's a 99% chance that you can do that without anyone sniping that slot from you.
And even if a lot of you tell your friends and your friends tell their friends and everything,
works out,
launches through the roof, we have a box full of automation PCBs ready. We are in good contact with Bettermaker, with Elysia, and quite a few others. So if we start running out of machines because you people use them so much,
we'll just get you more.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. That's actually the easiest part to do, is to make more machines. It's harder to make something that you guys will use and like. So you can always help us with that by letting us know what's troubling you and what you like.
And cheers from Slovenia to Chile.
Hey.
Hi, Angela. So I think we might continue with...
We can continue with the hardware since we've already started on
Yeah.
that. So let's start with the bad news, I guess.
Yeah.
We have to.
I don't know if some
We
of
have
you
to
have...
come clean.
If some of you have noticed or not, but the mastering EQ is currently missing from Rack 1.
And this is the reason.
Yeah.
Or
We just don't want to screw the streaming up. But we've had a minor setback while doing some maintenance because we figured out that some of the frequencies on the high mid band were a bit off, and the cue, the shape control was not behaving as expected or as wanted. So we took it out and started tinkering with it, and somehow managed to make a volcano out of a few chips. So yeah, we're hard at work, as you've just seen, to make it sound and make it work again. But I think it's gonna take another day or two before it's repaired and thoroughly tested again and all that.
so it's out of action for now, but it's gonna come back.
Yeah.
And all of the audio stuff, I think, is still intact. So it's just the automation that bit the dust a bit. And even on that, we feel that there's quite a few things that are still alive. So we're just going to replace a few other things that have died. And then hopefully it'll all just work. Sorry.
Yeah. Shit happens.
Yeah.
And for the good news, we just got a huge box from the component supplier, which means that the automation for the saturation unit is going to get assembled in the next days.
Yes, exactly. So we're getting the PCBs on Friday. And I think we have most of everything else to start on the saturation unit. We've already ordered the graphics for it.
Ooh,
so
nice.
our graphics company is working on that, which is great. So there might be a preview coming soon of how the user interface is going to look like. But maybe we can just talk a little bit about the saturation unit, what kind of features it has. So I think it has, it's a distortion box basically, but it can be dialed down to be just a saturation box, right? So you can go...
Yeah, it has a lot of range.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be paired with the parallel and mid-side sidecar from the get-go.
Yeah.
And by itself, the unit is actually a kind of a Red 47 preamp modified with additional gain stages.
Yeah.
And some nice tubes in it. That I think there are pentodes that you can select the wiring. So they are wired as pentodes, wired as triodes, or wired as pentodes with different filters applied to the distortion path.
Exactly. So it can, if you're thinking about things like Culture Vulture or Black Box, then that's kind of the general purpose of the unit. You can use it to add like warmth or go out for full like guitar amp style distortion. So you could actually use it to use your DI tracks and get some tube distortion going.
Yeah, I actually tried that myself because I was just curious if you could pull off something like that. So I just used that distortion unit, cranked it all the way with a clean guitar DI track, and just used a cabinet impulse response to simulate a speaker and a mic, and it actually turned out pretty cool. It's another cool flavor of a tube amp. So that's what I like about that unit. When I compared it to the black box, the HG2, I like the range because the HG2 sounds very cool. It was it's a secret weapon or a standard piece of gear for a lot of mastering engineers. But what I found is that it's only useful for the master bus, so for slight saturation, for that was strange. Okay, so that threw me off.
I love that.
Yeah, so this box actually does pretty similar sounds, just a few more options because it has the filters built into the distortion circuit, so you got even more flavors of distortion. Plus the range is much higher, so you can get really slight saturation sound, and then you blend it in with a clean signal. It can be really subtle, and then again you can use it to get some really weird and all out distortion sounds.
So if I remember correctly, we've got 3 levels of overdrive.
Yeah.
And then we've got an input gain, an distortion bias, and an option to change the tonality of the distortion, or saturation, which can be tri-out, pent-out, or pent-out with a different, like a filter in it. And the filter can move up and down in frequency. I think there are about 4 presets, 4 preset frequencies. And those are very interesting on drums, I found. So a drum bus, you can really saturate, but also peak out the snare or peak out. I think the frequencies are mostly like in the mid-range and the upper mid-range. So maybe they were thought more for like guitar, but I really found it to work really nice on like a room or a drum bus where you want to get the snare out in a particular way. So that's really cool. Also works very nice in bass guitar for rock music. Actually, yeah, it's a very cool machine. We've got now 2 limiters, 2 compressors, and so on. I mean, at least 2 EQs and so on flavors, but we still haven't had any saturation. So this is the natural next step. And of course, after that, then we really need to start with the
summing mixer.
The summing mixer, exactly, which we already have designed, but it's going to be quite an undertaking. Still, that's the future that we want to do. The saturation unit is well on the way, and just can't wait to unleash it on you guys, see what you can kind of come up with.
And then there's the beautiful, that Studer tape machine.
Yep. That
also is coming soon-ish. I think that we're waiting for the graphics.
We still need to define a few things, but yeah, it's also going to come out soon. So if you think about it, Mix Analog, it's kind of started out very much like a mastering kind of thing, and now we're going to have very soon 3 kinds of saturation devices. So you'll have a nice, very old tape machine that's all discrete and full of transformers and so on. A very much more modern tape machine with lots of features, and a tube saturator. It's a very interesting way to, if you got a bus or track that you want to saturate, then you'll have a lot of options on Mix Analog very soon.
Yeah. And there was another question, if there's a particular EQ we like for bass guitar.
I like the Pultec, to be honest. When I'm tracking, it's a Pultec to an 1176 for bass. I don't know why, it just sounds phenomenal. I've also tried it with LA2A and 1176 combined. That's cool when you have a bass solo. You can really make it like, it sounds almost like a voice.
People actually do bass solos.
People actually do bass solos. In jazz, people do bass solos,
Oh, jazz, okay, right. Totally forgot about it. No, but seriously.
Forgot about jazz.
I personally actually don't have a favorite EQ for bass guitar, but I would agree with Bojan that Pultecs will probably do wonders for bass guitar, because if you move up with the low frequency selector into the 60 or 100,
the 60 or 100 is a joy to use on the bass.
It will the combination of the boost and cut, the famous Pultec trick. You probably know about that. the throth in the frequency response on the highest settings moves into 300 and 400 hertz region, which you usually cut a little bit on the bass guitar to not have them honky and boxy and all that. So that might be really cool. And it has a tube gain stage after the passive filters, and tubes and bass guitar go together really well. So yeah, I think you cannot miss it with Protex.
Okay.
What did we
have in mind for next? I think that kind of settles what's next for hardware, right?
Mm-hmm.
We still have the Gyref compressor here that we're not forgetting about. It's going to happen, and Elysia is still, I think they're just finishing the faceplate for it, but we're going to get a custom Elysia compressor here as well. That should happen actually this month. They promised before August, so. But then it will take some time for us to actually develop the automation for it and stuff. But still, like in 2 months' time, I think you might actually see it on Mix Analog. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really cool. Combination, I think, the Elysia Music U and the Empressor together.
If the Empressor is half as magical as the Music U, I'm gonna drool. Seriously, that EQ redefined my standards for EQs.
It's a good one.
So yeah, can't wait to hear that.
Yep.
Oh, real home recording. Hi
hey.
There. Okay, yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
And I think the third thing that we've picked for today is the backbone story.
So the upgrades and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so Mix Analog is hardware and software. It's a bunch of servers, it's a bunch of analog gear, and of course there's lots of software to connect all of that. Kind of when you're doing software, what you want to do is you want to test it somewhere, and then you want to put it out for everyone to use. So what happens frequently in software is you make a new feature and then you add a lot of bugs, you break a lot of things, and then you fix those by internal testing, and then you say, okay, so this is good enough, let's put it out into the wild. That's actually a bit hard to do with Mix Analog because the hardware and the software are very connected. So, if someone is using a Pultec or a Fairchild, if I want to test some new software with it, that's actually very unpractical. So unfortunately, so some of these interactions are really hard to test. So it's a bit of a special project, and we've been so far going without actually testing that much before we go into production. So we've kind of been abusing production for testing ourselves.
That's why sometimes we get a lot of support requests and things break down unexpectedly.
Yeah, then they shouldn't, and it's not right to do it this way. So so far we've done that, but we've come to our senses now. So we're making a separate version. We are. We're really committed to that. So we want to make a separate version of Mix Analog that's only for testing that we will use. It's called the Mix Analog Staging Environment. So this is where we're gonna try and move most of the development there. So the things that you get on mixanalog.com are gonna be much more polished. That's at least our hope. Also, we're gonna invite some of you, like more regular users and so on, to this staging part, so that you can help with the testing and of course steer the direction, get some comments in before a feature is finished. So if you want to help shape the future of Mix Analog, drop me a line in the chat and I'll add you to a list of people that can help us with that. So that's one of the things. The other thing is that when we have been looking into what sort of hardware is making up Mix Analog, we found out that we're using quite a lot of old stuff in computers and so on that maybe isn't the best idea to use in 2019. So we've done a bit of a hardware refresh on the servers. That hasn't completed yet, so we're still running the production on the old servers, but the new ones are almost ready. So just a few more days, I hope, maybe a week, and we'll be able to switch to the new ones, which have a different network setup, which is 10 times faster than the previous one. So a lot less latency and much faster downloads and uploads. So hopefully that will translate over to you guys as well. So you will have a better experience with Max Analog. Also, we found out that we can do a few optimizations in how we stream audio to the converters. Right now we have quite a high buffer setting, and we're looking into a way how to reduce that dramatically, but still not get crackling and distortion from buffer underruns or stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the same as your DAW, you know. The bigger the buffer settings, the more stable the playback, but the higher the latency, and it's the same here.
Yeah, so we want to reduce latency there as well, and now we think we have a technique on how to do it, which we will now, when we now have the staging environment, can actually test. So that will be great. So that's kind of my message here, is that with Mix Analog in the past with software, a lot of the things that we had were like wild ideas. Let's try this. We're kind of we said, okay, no, maybe let's not try that, because if we do, a lot of people who come here to actually do their work are going to be impacted, and maybe that's not such a good idea. So now that we are making this separate version where we can try things, that's less of a concern, of course. So now we can actually do that, try a few very crazy things and see what sticks, what works well, what really improves technologically, and then ship that to you. So that's very exciting for me as one of the founders, you know, seeing the project go into this direction.
And one of the most busy programmers and backend and engineers, and so you can...
We're trying.
Yeah.
There's a question from Donnie. Any future plans for adding a Focusrite Red Opto compressor? I don't think so, but there's a plan for an LA2A. It's back there.
Yeah. The shiny silver box on the top
is a stereo LA2A.
Yeah, you cannot see the inscriptions, but that's actually stereo LA2A.
The good thing about it is also it's been heavily modded. It's got, heavily modded. The signal path is the same, but it has different opto cells. So you can switch between a original new old stock 70s array optocell and a modern remake that's much faster. So I find it, especially for vocals, it's very nice because you can kind of dial in. Sometimes the faster one works better, sometimes the slower one works better, and same for bass guitar, where LA2A has been used quite a lot, or bass synth. So yeah, that's a cool machine that we have, but we haven't done automation for yet. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to put it online.
Yeah, but actually we haven't talked to Focusrite about the...
We haven't.
About the gear, so thanks for a reminder.
Also, I think there was a question about Rupert Neve design. Anything by Rupert Neve, if we're going to put anything of that online? Not right now, really. We do have a very nice 8-channel Neve console, I guess. We can call it console.
Yeah, it has a summing bus.
It has a summing bus. It's 8 channels of 1084, so Class A Neve. It's got it's got a full EQ, 2 midpoints, a low and a high, and a high pass filter. And it's got 11 points of EQ on the mids and 5 points on the lows and highs. So it's a very, very powerful and flexible EQ, and of course all of the preamp and the line amp and also the summing mixer in that. So we have that one behind me somewhere, hidden away. But automating that would be just so much work. We'd love to do it, really, but right now that would probably bankrupt us, like seriously bankrupt us. So not right now, but if we can find a way, then I'd love to do that.
Me too. Okay, and I think that's pretty much
Any questions?
Sums it up about what we have prepared.
Yep. So if you have any questions or suggestions, let us know now, and we'll try to answer them.
Anyone? Anything?
Anything at all. The weather's nice today. A bit hot, but works.
Yeah, it's always a bit awkward with the questions and everything because the latency of YouTube gets a bit high towards the end of the stream. So we stand here or sit here talking to ourselves before you can hear us ask for questions.
No, I think that's about it. Okay, guys. It's been super nice.
Yeah.
We'll be back in 14 days, 2 weeks. And can't wait to show you.
Okay.
Oh, is there a particular time of day when bookings are heaviest? I think it's really weird. Sometimes weekends are really full and sometimes weekends are really like nothing's happening. So it's been everything so far.
Mm.
We've also had weeks where some joker reserved everything until we figured out and made a policy to block more than half an hour of free gear per day.
I think to be honest, the number of booked slots and the time you would have to wait to get a free slot depends the most heavily on people posting about us on YouTube.
Maybe yes, yeah. If we get a really nice review on YouTube, which if you can, please do so. Then usually there's a week of where you can really see like a third of the slots maybe gets taken, and then maybe you have to juggle around a bit. But mostly it's like really. You can just go for a slot and say, yeah, I'll have this one. And usually there's no one interfering.
From my day-to-day experience, because I also have to reserve gear to take it out for maintenance or inspection or whatever. But I would say that max I would have to wait for half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and then I would get a free slot.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the waiting time max is 15 minutes or so. I mean, maybe. But usually not. Okay,
and I think with that we can conclude today's live Q&A webinar. Thank you so much for all the questions today. It was really cool.
Really nice.
Because we were not only talking to ourselves. And I really like interacting with users because it's boring to just prepare stuff in advance and talk about it. And it's really nice to talk with actual people. So, yeah.
Cool. Fancy.
Thanks for being with us and see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.